Welcome to another edition of From the Front Lines, where we discuss both the day-to-day and one-of-a-kind issues facing real estate managers. Brandi Herdzina, CPM, joins us to discuss rediscovering balance in life at a time when extreme messages are at the forefront and steadiness is particularly difficult to find. Brandi's speaking at the 2023 IREM Global Summit in Toronto. Welcome to the podcast, Brandi.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
First, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am originally from Texas, but I moved to Colorado with my husband and our dog in 2020. I love it here. My favorite thing to do is hike, well, because it's so beautiful. But when I'm not doing that, I am writing, speaking, and leading workshops for companies and associations to help provide their teams and their members with inspiration and guidance and finding a more balanced, purposeful, happy life. I'm also writing my first book, which I plan to publish in 2024. And before all that, I was in commercial property management for 20 years. It's been a ton of change, but really fun to kind of see everything coming full circle.
And what does balance mean to you, and why have you made it your mission to share this message of rediscovering balance in life?
To me personally, it is living life in a way that makes me excited to wake up in the morning, but also in a way that allows me the ability to hold space for those days when it's a little more difficult to get out of bed. It's embracing the good and the bad days or the imperfection that life is. I made it my mission because, quite honestly, our human experience is a bit out of whack. We are so off kilter that we're not just burning out. We're struggling to listen to each other or to show up in a way that offers space for differences of opinion or that imperfection or mistakes that might offer growth. And my hope is that if we're all a bit more balanced individually, then we might have the capacity to face each other from a more regulated and kind and compassionate place.
And how did we get here as a society where it's necessary to retrain ourselves, in a sense, to get back to a more balanced approach to work and life?
Well, that's a tough question because I think if you analyze it from multiple angles, you'll probably find multiple answers. That said, I would like to maybe give it a top three of my opinion. I think uh, disconnection led us here. First, that was through social and an escape from face-to-face interactions, which of course was exacerbated by the pandemic when we were forced to be physically apart. Humans weren't built for that. It's that human connection that helps us stay regulated. Second, I think we've let fear and anger from the onslaught of extreme messaging get the best of us. It is really divisive on a collective level, but it also tears us apart individually. If you look at it from the perspective of how friends and family have been affected and the separation that's occurred, looking at it from what that does on a psychological level, I think we can start to understand why fear and anger can and has been so destructive. Finally, third, I think it's just in how we've been programmed to work. I mean, I come from modest beginnings, and as a byproduct of that, I can be an absolute workhorse, which is admirable in some cases. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with a good work ethic, but there is a time for work and there's a time for rest. And the latter is one that I think as a society we've ignored for way too long.
What are some strategies you recommend for achieving that balance?
Well, clearly I love my top three, so here we go. First is identifying, discovering, or rediscovering your why. knowing why you love what you do or experience in work and at home. Number two is then letting go or asking for help so that you can have the time to spend on some of those loves, those passions on yourself. And number three is just honoring your whole self, meaning acknowledging that the energy you need is already within you. It just needs a hug every now and then. By hug, I mean taking a breath or meditating or exercising, doing whatever it is that feeds your soul, but absolutely getting some rest. Basically, being okay with hitting the pause button so that your nervous system can reboot.
What do you do and what do you recommend at the organizational level when you work with companies and whole teams on achieving balance?
Well, it really depends on the organization and what I learned during a discovery call about what they feel is uniquely important for their team. But that said, every single engagement has to start with trust building. There are a lot of skeptics about what I do, my husband being my biggest case study. Once we have developed some trust, though, we start to dive into exercises that help the team navigate challenges that they're facing. A lot of times that's helping each individual discover what's important to them, and sometimes learning what might be missing. Then we use that information to find common ground and a collective experience or collective needs as a way to help support each other. It takes a lot of vulnerability and really honest discussions, but in the end, it's really worth it.
And what are you looking forward to at the Global Summit in Toronto? And can you give us a preview of what you'll be talking about in your session?
Yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing some old friends and making some new ones. I've attended several of the summits as a member, and quite honestly, being on the other side as a speaker is humbling, but I'm also really excited. And in the It's Just Balance session, we're going to dive into balance from a holistic view rather than just looking at it as a work-life issue. We're going to do some exercises to at least start the process of discovering our why and our passion and uncovering some of the truths around what those findings mean. Then we're going to talk about how to harness our energy and tap into some real world ways to find and maintain balance. And then finally, we're going to talk about what to do when it all falls apart, because it definitely will, but it's not the end of the world when it does.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Brandi. A great message. Go see Brandi at the IREM Global Summit in Toronto. Her session is Thursday, October 12th at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll see you there.
Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this discussion and a part of the IREM Global Summit. I'm excited. I'll see you guys there.
Visit irem.org for more knowledge to take on real estate management's most dynamic challenges. That's www.irem.org.